This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, I call the Dayton Service Utility Board meeting to order Monday, June 15th, 2020. We are meeting over the phone because of the COVID-19 pandemic, and on the phone we have Town Attorney Reed Murtaugh, Town Manager Mark Harlow, Clerk Treasurer Michelle Freeward, newly appointed but not yet sworn in Council Member Carlos Nadras, and 4 council members that will now identify themselves by roll call. Myself, Sharon Benego here, Ron Kohler.
Here.
And Kiger.
Here.
And Ashley Stevenson.
Here.
Okay. Utility report, Mark.
Hey, Jen, before Mark, I emailed on, or we have the trash contractors that bid. They're on the phone listening for the awarding, so I asked you guys if it would be okay if we move that from the original meeting.
Yeah, Mark, can you do that first?
Yes, I can.
Thank you.
So the town of Dayton received 3 bids for a 2-year trash contract. So it's easier to compare the different quotes. I broke them down into a per resident per month cost. The first bid was from Best Way Disposal, and it was for $15.75 per month. Second bid was from Republic Services. It was for $13.48 per month. And the low bid was from Trash Cans LLC for $12 per month.
Okay.
All 3 of the bids also included supplying 2 roll-off dumpsters in the spring and 2 roll-off dumpsters in the fall.
Thanks, Mark.
Yeah.
Did anybody have any questions about any of those? Okay, I guess we just need a...
Jen?
Yeah.
Yeah, I make a motion to award the trash contract for the next 2 years to Trash Can LLC. It's for a total of $152,640.
I second the motion.
Okay, there's been a motion made by Ron and seconded by Stan to award the trash contract to Trash Cans LLC for the next 2 years. Is there any discussion before we take a roll call vote? Okay. Roll call vote. Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, I vote yes as well, so the motion passes 4-0. Okay.
You want me to proceed with my report now?
Yeah,
Okay.
thanks, Mark.
I just have one comment on roll call. So for the minutes, we have 4 town council members that are present, correct? Carla is just participating as a resident.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Hopefully, everybody had an opportunity to look at my report that I emailed you. So we'll just start at the top of the list under water. The first item I have is the hydrant flow testing, which is done each year by Emmy Simpson. I had received approval previously to have them proceed with the work. I'm just giving you an update that will hopefully happen within the next 30 days. Next item under wastewater, the lift station maintenance was completed on June 2nd. The only problem they found, there was some plastic in the lift station on College Street that was blocking one of the inlets to the pumps, but they got that cleaned out. But besides that, everything tested fine as far as voltage and amp loads on the pumps, so we're looking good. But I do have an invoice from FJF, our contractor, for $1,500 that I'd like approval on to pay, please.
I'd make a motion that we approve the invoice for $1,500 for lift station maintenance.
I second it.
There's been a motion made by Ashley, seconded by Ron, to pay the invoice of $1,500 to FJF for lift station maintenance. Just a discussion before we proceed with a roll call vote. Okay, Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, I vote yes as well. So the motion passes 4-0.
Thank you. The next
Question.
item I have, yes.
We already approved to hire them. Do we actually need to approve the invoice for them? I don't think the invoice
I don't know. I don't know if we needed to or not. I know that sometimes the price or cost varies as whether they find a problem with a pump or a motor. So I just requested it so we had a exact invoice in front of me.
Sure. Oh, that's right. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. The next item is the annual fee for the mission control system. Just to refresh your memories, that is a telemetry system that we have at all the lift stations that sends me a report each day on pump run time and also calls me if there's a pump failure. Each year, that annual fee is $1,389.60. So I would ask for approval to pay that invoice also.
And that's a ongoing contract that we have, correct?
Yes, it is.
We need motion. Do we have to approve claims on an ongoing contract or something like this?
Yes. I would go ahead.
I'd make a motion that we pay the $1,389 for mission control system.
All right.
Second it, motion.
There's been a motion made by Ashley and seconded by Ron to pay the $1,389.60 annual fee for the mission control system. Is there any discussion before we take a roll call vote? Okay, Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, I vote yes. So motion carries 4-0.
Thank you. The next item is under stormwater. The Main Street stormwater lateral that was previously approved has been installed and completed. The original bid was $6,855. I received an invoice for $7,055. In speaking with the contractor and also noting on the invoice, the additional $200 is due to when they were installing the pipe, they came across a foundation on an old garage or building that was not obvious on top of the ground, and they had to remove it and, of course, haul away the concrete. So that's the reasoning for the $200 overage, and I was there on site to see it, so it is a legitimate cost. So I'll be asking for approval for invoice from Kokopelli Construction for $7,055, please.
Make a motion, we approve the $7,055 invoice from Coca-Cola.
Second it.
There's been a motion made by Ashley and seconded by Ron to pay the $7,055 invoice to Kokopelli Construction. Is there any discussion before we take a roll call vote? Okay, Ron, how do you vote?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And I vote yes, so the motion passes 4-0.
Okay, thank you. Under streets, the first item is the street sweeping. It was scheduled for early June, but I canceled that due to the ongoing community crossing project still in progress. The contract number 2 under community crossings, which is where they put the slurry seal on the streets, they recommended that you wait 30 days after application of the seal before you sweep the street. So I'm just letting you know that it will be sometime after July 4th whenever I'll have the annual street sweeping scheduled. The next item is the community crossing project number 1, which was done by Reith Riley Construction, which was Shady Lane, Dayton Road, Harrison, and Pennsylvania. That project has been completed. I'm meeting with a representative of Reith Riley this week to go over the quantities to make sure that we agree on exactly what was done. Contract number 2 with Pavement Solutions, that project has been completed. So we can be expecting billing from both of these contractors within the next 30 days. We already have the state's share of the projects on hand, but of course I'll present the billing to you, I would suspect, at the next monthly board meeting. Does anyone have any questions about the projects? You may have noted that the parking area at the Redbird Cafe was redone. That was at no cost to the town or the state. When they originally laid the asphalt, it was causing some ponding, and there were concerns about that would result in a buildup of ice in the wintertime. So I want to commend Reith Riley Construction for voluntarily correcting that problem. If there's no questions, we'll move on down the list. The next item under other is the AT&T fiber optic. The contractor is about a quarter mile east of town on 38. So I suspect he'll begin boring the fiber optic line through Dayton on Wednesday. I'll spend quite a bit of time with them as they're going through town in order to give them some more specifics about our utilities and where they're located. I've already marked them all, but it's important that we can minimize any damage. So I'll be meeting with him each morning before he starts, and then once or twice throughout the day. The next item is Mulberry fiber optic. Hopefully each of you also received the letter I had attached to my email from Randy Maish with Mulberry Telephone. They are proposing to install fiber optic mains and drop lines to each house in Dayton. That's what their proposal is, and they would like to do that within the next 6 to 12 months. They would like to start on this project this summer. So they're asking for the town council's blessing on doing this. And I have a couple concerns myself, though. Let me, hold just a second, let me get my paper here. I asked Mr. Maish some questions about the project. One, of course, was the time frame, which I just mentioned. Secondly, was whether they would be doing the work themselves or would be subcontracting it out. And they will be subcontracting it out. I asked them about naming the town of Dayton as a rider on the insurance policy, not only for Mulberry Telephone, but also for their subcontractor in order to cover any damages to our infrastructure which may occur. If or when we move forward, that's something that I'd like for you to look at, Reed, to make sure that we've got all of our bases covered. Another question was, does this mean that they're going to remove all their old lines? And the answer was no. And that brings me to my first concern, in that our utility right-of-ways are becoming congested. You look at the telephone company, the gas company, our own infrastructure, Comcast, the list goes on, and at some point we have to consider that. It adds a burden in a couple different ways. Initially, it adds a burden if we need to work on our own infrastructure, being the water, sewer, stormwater lines. It's just something else that hinders us in doing our own maintenance. The second thing is that their proposal is to put the fiber optic line throughout all of the town, the main lines, and then after that, running the drops to each of the houses. It's very reasonable to assume that that would result in several hundred locates. And the reason I bring that up is that in 2018, we had to do 420 locates. In 2019, we did 450 locates. And the number of locates that we do is increasing, and those take time. Now, let's say one takes a half hour, which some take much more than that. But if you just say 500 locates at a half hour apiece, that's 250 hours. That's 6 weeks, 6 40-hour weeks of doing nothing but locates. And that places a burden on the town. That takes away from many other things that need to be taken care of each day. So I don't know what the town's policy has been in the past concerning allowing utilities to use our easements. But I think now would be a good time to give this some thought. I'm not saying that we don't allow it, but I'm saying that we have to make it we have to make it of use to us too. We own these right of ways, and I suspect that after AT&T gets their fiber optic run to Lafayette, they're going to be in town offering people packages, and they'll be wanting to run their fiber optic lines to the homes. I don't assume that I know exactly how that all works, but I think the time has come that we have to give this some thought. One, about are we getting our utility easements too congested, and then two, what about the workload or financial burden that it's putting on the town whenever they want to do this? So, I guess my first question is, do any of you have any thoughts on this? Yes.
Mark, can you hear me?
Yes.
My thought would be, should we have our engineers like BF&S look at everything and direct us? Seems like they would know how much can go in there and what it can take for the future, and they might give us some suggestions.
Well, I've got, Mr. Mace had sent me the map of the proposed location of the main lines, and I could reach out to BF&S and forward that to them and let them know what our concerns are.
That'd probably be good.
Well, probably Mr. Mace is awaiting a response from the town council. So what I'll do is I'll let them know that we're forwarding the information on to our consulting engineer, and we'll get back to him as soon as we hear from them.
Yeah, that'd give us something to go on.
Okay.
Mark, I have a quick question.
Yeah, go. Yeah.
Sorry, my phone was breaking up at the very first part when you were talking about AT&T. Is AT&T also wanting to the same as Mulberry?
Well, AT&T is in the process right now of running a fiber optic line from Frankfort to Lafayette, and the only section they have left now is from Dayton to Lafayette. So it's been ongoing for a bit. But just here in the last week or so, we heard from Mulberry Telephone that they would like to supply fiber optic to the citizens of or residents of Dayton also.
So AT&T will be coming through Dayton.
Yeah, they'll be coming through this week. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay.
they'll be through here this week.
Thank you.
Yes. A couple more items. One is not of significance. I'm going to be out of town Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. But an item that is not on the report concerns the State Road 38 project. I saw today where it is coming up for bid, at least a section that involves Dayton, will come up for bid in April of 21. And concerning that, apparently, some of our infrastructure, being water and sewer mains, are in the way. And I'm meeting with a gentleman tomorrow to address this, to see if the design can be changed so that we don't have to be moving water mains and sewer mains. That's a concern because of two things. One is it's a costly undertaking, and two is that means that there will be a period of time where there's people without service. And then once that service is restored, we have to conduct water safety tests, bacteria tests, and so forth. So it's quite an undertaking if we do have to move these main lines. Apparently they're in the way of their storm drains is what I'm understanding, but I'll have more information after I meet with the gentleman tomorrow. So just giving you a heads up as this thing gets closer, there'll be some things that we'll need to address, either in requesting them to change their design or requesting them to pay for the relocation of these utilities. I'm not exactly sure how this all unfolds, but we're getting close enough now to the final design that these are things that'll need to be worked out, and I'll keep you all appraised of it as we go along. I think that's all for my report, unless you have any questions.
Thanks, Mark.
Yep.
Enjoy your job. Okay, comments from the council. Ron, do you have any?
No. I just want to say one thing. When the state widened 38 before, I think they relocated at their cost the utilities that were in their way, moved them around a little bit, locations. So
Good.
That's all.
Good.
Dan, do you have anything?
That's good to know.
Nope.
Ashley?
Yeah, I'd like to, thank Mark Harlow for taking charge on the street projects this year. And, I've had several people, talk about how nice everything looks and paid the town compliments, throughout the process. And, there was some inconveniences caused on some residents. I understand that, but I think everything turned out real well in the end. And again, a big shout out to Mark on, watching over things and making sure things were done right. That's all I have.
Good job, Mark.
Thank you.
I have nothing, so I just need a motion to adjourn.
I make a motion to adjourn.
I'll second it.
There's been a motion made by Stan and seconded by Ron to adjourn. We'll take a roll call vote. Ron?
Yes.
Dan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And myself, yes. We are adjourned.
Okay, this is the June 15th town board meeting of the town council. We are holding this meeting by phone again because of the COVID-19 health emergency. Present on the phone are our attorney, Reed Murtaugh, and our clerk treasurer, Michelle Freeward, and our town manager, Mark Harlow, and members of the town council who will now identify themselves. Jen?
Here.
You here? Stan?
Here.
Ashley?
Here.
And I'm Ron, I'm here. And Carla's on the phone somewhere, but she will join us pretty soon. First on the agenda is the town attorney and the ordinances. But before we do that, I just want to say something. I understand that while technically we don't have to release the ordinances or preliminary documents before they're official, it is my position, and I know several other members agree, that every document we are considering that's not privileged or withheld by law for privacy reasons is a public document and should be released. If we need to adopt a policy or vote on it, then let's do it so that the ordinances and anything else requested can be released. We won't act on either the animal ordinance or the golf cart ordinance today because residents have not had an opportunity to review them. Any comments on the ordinances, or Jen, do you have something?
Yep. I have a comment that I need to read. This is
Okay.
from This is from LaDonna Snyder at 742 Shady Lane. Oops, dropped my phone. First, I don't believe that the town council should pass ordinances in a meeting where the public cannot attend and comment. I don't think either of the ordinance listed are in any way critical or urgent. In regards to the animal control ordinance, section 90.04, inoculation, it states that dogs must be inoculated for rabies before 3 months of age. The recommended age for dogs to be inoculated for rabies after 3 months of age. I have attached a link to AAHA rabies guidelines. And then there's a very long website, www.aaha.org/AAHA-guidelines/vaccination canine configuration/rabies vaccination. AAHA is the American Animal Hospital Association, and they set standards for care for veterinarians nationwide. The problem with giving the rabies vaccine too early is that it may not be effective if given before 3 months of age. Dogs' immune systems are still developing at this point, and vaccines may or may not confer immunity. It is also possible that veterinarians will refuse to give rabies vaccines to dogs under 3 months of age because of the reason listed above, making it impossible to comply with the ordinance. Then the ordinance says that dogs may be vaccinated every 3 years after the first inoculation. That is also incorrect. After the first vaccination for rabies, dogs need another shot 1 year later. After the first 2 vaccines, then dogs may have a rabies vaccine every 3 years. I believe that the town of Dayton should send these concerns back to the county. This ordinance needs to be corrected so that it complies with the vaccine guidelines given by AAHA. And then there's one more, the same from LaDonna Snyder. I had to get the animal control ordinance from the county because the town attorney is claiming it's some sort of secret document, even though it is public record on the county's website. I can't get a copy of the golf cart ordinance, again, because it is some sort of secret. How can residents comment on it before 6 p.m. on Monday if we can't read it? Also, during the meeting, no one will be allowed to comment. When exactly will residents be allowed to comment on the ordinance? What happened to open and transparent government? That's it.
Okay,
Thank you,
first
Jen.
of all, go ahead, Reed.
Yeah, so the thing that I think the town council needs to discuss is making these documents available electronically. There's no issue with these being released, but when we have had meetings in the town council, we've never had a way like other municipalities do where all of these type of documents are publicly accessible electronically. That's the only thing that I understood was being requested. It was a public request to post on Facebook or a website. That's completely different than a public record request, which is just tied to an individual. And I've never received a public record request in regards to this. All of my communications were solely with our clerk treasurer. I never said that the county ordinance was not available. I was only referring to the ordinance that the town was considering. So, that's something that the town council could change. That's something that the town council has discussed. If we're going to contract someone or pay for software fees to help us make documents accessible, then I think that would be, for the town council to decide. Maybe we don't need to do anything additional, but we just need to, start posting them. That's up for discussion.
This is Jen. If everybody's okay with it, I'm happy to put them all on the website. That's totally possible.
That'd be great.
Well, when you say all, though, what does that mean? I just think we need to be, I'm not saying in this meeting, but before we start doing it, what documents are we talking about, I think would be helpful. Is it just ordinances, or are there other documents? Contracts. Are we going to start doing minutes of prior meetings, or only approved minutes? I think that this is an important item, but I think it's also, it's kind of it might take some time for all of us to consider this and think through how we want to do it. And I just think that it should be uniform going forward, so that we don't have one meeting where we have a couple documents and then, the next meeting we don't.
Would it be too vague to say anything that's relevant or being considered?
Yes, I think that's too vague. My recommendation would be to adopt a motion that we're going to study this and put together a list, that we could approve before we start doing it.
So
we need a.
And I'd be happy to, be involved in that, but I would just like us to have clarification on what documents are going to be made accessible, and then, stick to that.
Okay, I make a motion.
Because the other thing that comes to mind is, what about petitioners? If someone has something on the agenda and they want to, have in-hearing testimony, but they also have documents, are we going to include those? Are we going to post things, that have been submitted as a meeting? I think that, there's, from my side of it anyways, there's a good amount of items that need to be discussed and thought through. And I think that we can look at other jurisdictions and do similar things. But, then I'll need to know, what capacity we have, or if we have any limitations with our current website and IT
Reed, you want a motion right now to basically go ahead and look into this as fast as we can to see what we can put out there easily and cost effectively on general items that we're talking about, so that people of this town know and have a little information ahead of time. I think that would be our goal, to get as much out there as we can. So I'll make that motion to start the process, and if there's something on there that comes up that might be critical or something, we'll have to look at the things, but we'll put out as much as we possibly can. So that's the motion, to go ahead and start that and put them out there whenever we can.
I second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ron, I vote yes, so the motion passes. We'll start studying that, and we'll all look into it. Okay.
All right. So for the animal control ordinance, we're just introducing this tonight. There's not going to be a vote, but just to help everyone kind of walk through this, it's Chapter 91, Animals, in the Dayton Town Code. So what we have now reads 91.01, adopting animal control regulations by reference. The animal control ordinance for unincorporated Tippecanoe County, and it's 9325 CM, as amended, is incorporated by reference as part of this chapter, and it is hereby enacted and adopted and approved as a general ordinance of the town. So what that means, that language that's important, is as amended. So without the town council doing anything, we are already under the animal control ordinance for Tippecanoe County as amended. So what happened was that Marshall Taylor brought to my attention that Tippecanoe County did amend their ordinance. So even though no action is required, we are currently under the new animal control ordinance without taking any action. But just to avoid any doubt, if some people think that, we're not, that it's not enforceable because Tippecanoe County adopted it and we haven't, we thought that it was important to go ahead and put this on the agenda and have the town council adopt it. But legally, there is no need for that, and if it's voted down, that doesn't, if the motion to adopt the amended ordinance is voted down, then we're still under that ordinance. Another part of the ordinance that's already in there is that the ordinance gives the Tippecanoe County Sheriff or a representative who is designated by the Tippecanoe County Sheriff to be the animal control officer as a person to enforce the animal control ordinance. And so we went ahead and added a line in ours just to make it clear that that person, whoever the sheriff appoints, also has the authority to enforce in the town of Dayton. So that's kind of where things are from a legal standpoint. If there was anything that we wanted to deviate from, you are correct. We'd have to go back to Tippecanoe County and give our comments. I don't know that, and then we can certainly talk to them and see what their input is on whether they will be making any additional amendments to their ordinance. But outside of that, the only way for us to move forward with any deviations would be to create our own animal control ordinance. And I don't know, and really I'd have to defer to Marshall Taylor, who's not here, what that would mean. But it is important to note that, the town of Dayton doesn't have their own animal control officer. So we are, under the kind of guidance and, working with Tippecanoe County Sheriff's Department in that regards. So this document, the ordinance that I've drafted, has Exhibit A as the attachment, which is the ordinance that Tippecanoe County adopted, and all of that will be made available in some fashion so that everyone has plenty of time to read that and provide any additional comments before this is adopted in July.
Okay, good. Thanks, Reed. Anything else? And the golf cart, we'll wait till next month and get that out there.
Yeah, let me go through that.
Okay.
While I'm at it, we'll make the golf cart ordinance publicly available for anyone to comment on as well. We've already had a full discussion, and I was directed by the council to make the change by adding in paragraph J, I believe. So there was the ordinance passed in 2016 that did have paragraph J. And I just need to pull that up. So the language that was added and is what will be adopted if voted to approve in July is the addition of any person who operates a golf cart in which there is a child less than 8 years of age who is not properly fastened and restrained by an age-appropriate child restraint system commits a violation of this ordinance. Everything else in the ordinance remains the same as is. So that's all I have on that.
Okay, so we're putting it back out was originally adopted, so. All right, anything else then?
Yes. Regarding I'll just go ahead and do the RDC email addresses. So the Redevelopment Commission will have 6 people who need email addresses. So I've been in communication with Michelle, and we have approved Mark Jones, and we're in the process of getting that set up. So we just need to ratify that action to get board approval to move forward to hire Mark Jones to get those email addresses. So I just asked for a motion.
Okay, anybody want to make a motion? Can you hear me? Hello?
I can
I
hear you.
make a motion to assign email addresses to the RDC members.
I second it.
Hire Mark Jones to do that.
Okay, got a motion and a second. How do you vote? Jen?
Yes.
Ann?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes, so it's, the motion carries 4-0. Okay, Reed, you have anything else before I go on?
Yes, lastly, I need approval from the town council to look for an attorney if it's needed for outside counsel to enter an appearance in the pending lawsuit between the clerk treasurer and the town council. I do not feel that it's best for me to enter an appearance and represent the town in that matter. So I'm just asking approval for me to go ahead and look into that, and then I would make a recommendation and present a fee agreement first before that next step of actually hiring someone. But I need to go ahead and do that because of the timeline. We'll just, we had a complaint that's filed and need to get that taken care of within the time that the trial rules allow.
I
Okay,
make a motion. Sorry, go
ahead, Jen.
I was just going to make
Jen.
a motion to allow Reed to look for outside counsel to. Do I need specific wording here? I don't want to word it wrong.
Just represent the town in the pending lawsuit between the clerk treasurer and the town council.
Okay, to represent the town in the pending lawsuit between the clerk treasurer and the town council.
I second it.
Okay, we got a motion by Jen and a second by Stan. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
How do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes, so it's 4-1. The motion passes. Okay, Reed, anything else?
4-0, Ron?
4-0, sorry.
That's okay.
That's all I have, Ron.
Okay. Next on the agenda, I think, is we need to appoint someone to replace Al on the Area Plan Commission. I took the liberty of asking Carla if she'd take over Al's spot, and she agreed to do it if we appoint her. So we go from here.
I make a motion that we appoint Carla to the area plan.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion by Stan to appoint Carla to represent Dayton in the area plan, and a second by Jen. How do you vote? Jen, yes or no?
Yes.
Stan?
Yes.
Ashley?
Yes.
Ron, I vote yes, so the motion carries for Carla on area plan 4-0.
Okay. And I'll work on getting that, and that'll be, effective when she gets officially added on and the oath is administered for her position
Okay.
as town council member.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Reed, do I need to do a letter for Carla like I had to do for Al for Sally Fahey after you give her the oath?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, next on the agenda is the status of town hall closure.
So, Ron, before we move on,
Okay.
are we going to do the minutes of the appointment, the meeting that we had to select the new town council member?
Oh, yes, I forgot that. So we need to have a motion to, Michelle had sent us all the minutes to our meeting where we took Carla to replace Al Beaver. So we need a motion and a second to adopt that.
I make a motion, we approve the minutes of June 10th, 2020.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion to adopt the minutes of June the 10th, is it, 2020, and a second by Stan. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
How do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ashley?
Yes.
And I, Ron, vote yes, so motion carries 4-0 for those minutes. Yes.
I just want to make sure, since Carla's going to be the new APC rep, I think they have a meeting on Wednesday. Will she be sworn in by then, Reed?
I don't know. But I'll get in touch and let you know. I'm going to meet with Carla tomorrow, so I would expect that would be fine, but.
Okay.
All right, good. Thank you. Let us know. Okay, now we go to the town office closure and being open. I think Michelle had asked before about, now we're talking about opening up the town hall so that people can get into Michelle's to the utility office and pay bills and stuff. Not opening it for the meetings yet until we work with the health department and other people for the actual monthly meetings, but on just opening Michelle's office. My thought would be do it right after July the 4th when Governor Holcomb's, he sets a whole new set of values and stuff, and then do it with social distancing and masks or whatever. It'll give us a couple of weeks to decide exactly how we want things wiped down, how many people in there, whatever. So that's just thoughts, but anybody else can talk here.
Ron, I have a comment for you guys. So from my understanding and from what I've read, and I've even sent to you guys, Governor Holcomb has extended the health emergency, but as far as the government buildings and all of that, that all fully reopened as of yesterday. So, I mean, we only ever have like one person at a time in here. Tammy and I are constantly sanitizing. When people walk into town hall, they walk in the front door and come to our window. We have the glass window between us, so we don't have face-to-face contact, so we have social distancing. They're not using the bathrooms. They're not walking around town hall. So as far as being allowed to open the front door so that I can get customers in here, we have a lot of people who are moving into town and needing to set up water, and other government offices are fully open, and the restaurants and bars and concerts and games or sports and all of that are going back. I don't see any reason why my office needs to continue to be locked down.
Well,
I agree. We could go ahead and open it now, and I can put some marks on the floor, for the 6 foot, and then I think there needs to be signage hung up at the entrances, reminding people to observe the social distancing.
that might be okay, but can you go down there, you plan right now tomorrow and go in their offices and conduct business? I don't think so. I think a lot of...
From what I've heard, the county is all reopened.
Hey, wait just a second. Let me finish the sentence. And from what I've seen on the listserv and stuff, there's a lot of towns opening. It's strictly up to small towns, the governor says, but there's a lot of them that aren't. And when I read the paper, things are rising back up again because of this stuff. But it give us a couple weeks to decide exactly to what extent where we want people to go in there. And but anybody else to talk to, I'd just wait a couple weeks. But it's up to you guys.
Yeah, I would just add that the executive order that went out in May when the reopening started required all businesses that remained open or were allowed to reopen to have a safety plan. Like for my law firm, I have that. I have it posted. So I would think that same safety plan would be something that we need to do as well. It's basically just documenting and putting forth, what we are doing. But I think that we should go ahead and do that, and I can, see if there's any differences as far as what they want for the town versus, for everyone else. And then the other item is just, the executive order regarding that date of June 13th applied to state offices. It said that municipalities would be able to determine when to reopen on their own. So I do think, it's just whatever the town council wants to decide.
Okay.
So, Reed, can we borrow your guidelines that you're using for your personal office?
Yes.
That'd be okay? Okay.
I can send that to Michelle, because, Michelle's the one that has all of that stuff. But yeah, I've sent it to other people. I'd be happy to send that to you guys, and then I'll just check, see if there's anything that's different for us.
Okay.
But there's no reason not to go ahead and do that and post it when we do decide to reopen.
Okay.
I guess my question is the only people that are affected with people coming into the building are me, Tammy, and Mark, because the council members do not come in here. They don't go anywhere near where the council, if you guys were to start coming back in here, would have any contact. So with the council not stepping foot in here, we sanitize all the time. We're constantly sanitizing. We can have the measures that after every single person that leaves, we wipe down everything. So I don't understand. You guys aren't being affected because you're not walking into this building, but the residents of the town, we're constantly getting phone calls because everything is opening back up. So why can I not choose to open my office back up when we have the safety measures and the council doesn't enter the building anyways?
Because the town hall is real estate that's owned by the town, and it does matter to the town council because the residents are going to be entering. And, the insurance that covers that real estate and that covers residents is, a policy held by the town council.
Yeah, and I worry about people that walk in there and then walk out and affect others. This stuff is still going. We're talking about a couple weeks here to get everything in order, guys. So why don't we just wait a couple weeks right after 4th? We're going to be gone 4th of July and the weekend anyway. Let's just start it then, and Michelle will have everything in place, the floors taped and all that. And we won't. It'll be a couple more weeks of security for the residents. And the reason we don't go in there is because when people were going in there, and I think some employees got sick and had to go to the hospital, and it wasn't told to us that they could have been affected, or it turned out they weren't affected. But, you just got to be careful. So.
Well, Ron, if we do it, Ron, if we do it the way, you operate your business where you do have the social distancing and and some things like that, you know, given everything precedent set around the county with other buildings, you know, I think and businesses, I think we ought to be okay. You know, it's not like during a normal course of the day, there's going to be, you know, 100 people through that building, you know, probably not even 20 on any given day, probably less than that, much less than that. And you know, to maybe only have one door open to the public, you know, that being the front, and having our signage reminding people, you know, to observe social distancing. I don't see what the problem is with having it open now. You know, like your business and Reed's business and everybody else's.
Ashley,
you know,
Ashley, my business is closed. The antique shops are completely closed. I won't let people in there. We have to be outside and talk to the people, very long social distancing, okay? So we do. And like I say, the businesses downtown are also, a lot of them closed, the area plan offices and all that. That is done for a reason. So, Stan or Jen, you got any thoughts?
I have no comment.
Yeah, Stan, go ahead.
I think we wait till the 4th of July.
Okay, I think we'd all be safer people, and we can have a couple weeks, 10 days to think about to get things in order. So I make a motion that we wait to open up, let Michelle open her office up after the 4th of July, unless there's some national crisis or something. But gear for that, and then Ashley will have time to put the taping down and everything. Go from there.
So, just a quick question.
Need a second on that, please.
I make a second on that.
Buildings every day, and I've yet to be not allowed to come into one of them. You know, they're observing their social distancing. You know, most people don't even wear masks at these government buildings now. You know, that wasn't true, you know, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, but it's true now. They do have, you know, the public entering those buildings and taking care of business. I think we need to open up today.
That's true. Okay.
Yep. You know, remaining open or remaining closed or opening are both reasonable positions. You know, all we can do is discuss it. Let's have a vote or motion.
Okay, we've got a motion to keep it closed. Go ahead, Jen.
I just wanted to be clear. So it sounds like we are all in favor of reopening it, but we just need to put together a plan, like it seems everybody has, of how to do that safely. And as soon as we can get that plan together, then we are good to open it, right?
Yeah, we're gearing for right after July the 4th.
Yeah, that's
I just don't
what you guys need to
understand.
decide. It has nothing to do with really the plan. I mean, we need to make sure we get the plan before that. But right now, if you guys don't do anything, Town Hall is going to remain closed through July 4th. If you guys want to decide a date, I mean, that's really has to do with the date. So if you want to go ahead and decide that you're going to reopen on July 4th, that's one option. Or you can pick a different date.
That's what the motion on the floor
it can
is.
The motion can be subject to, a safety plan and, marking floors.
I think Michelle and I could work together and have a safety plan put in place and everything else put in place, by June the 22nd. That'd be a week from today. That's kind of splitting it in the middle in between now and July 4th. Go for June 22nd, which is a week from today.
What day is that on?
That's on Monday. That'll give me time to, get things posted and get a safety plan put in place and make sure it, meets everybody's desires. I'll pass it around to everybody and, seek input from other board members. And if everybody's good with it, then, June 22nd.
That's fine with me too, but I just want to say something. We talked about privately the dumpsters in this town, and so we try to check with the health department, what other people are doing. The health department adamantly said no dumpsters in this town because of the spread of the disease and everything, and they said there might maybe the rest of the year might not be able to have them. And I know, Ashley, talking to you, you go everywhere with no mask, no nothing. Michelle,
Okay, Ron,
you told me you did,
let's
but
stick
the
to
rest of
the agenda
the rest
item.
of us are worried about it. So, but
All right.
you guys want to do the 22nd? That's fine. Somebody make a motion.
What was the motion?
Make a motion.
We haven't had one yet.
Ron, you want to withdraw your motion? You know, make a different one?
Stan had made a motion. Did you make a motion, Stan?
I thought it was Ron.
Ron, you made the motion and I seconded it
Okay.
for the
What do you guys want
July
to do?
4th.
Okay. Do you want to stick to that or go to the 22nd?
I'll stick to July 4th.
Okay, we got a
we're
motion
going
on
to
the
the 22nd.
for July the 4th, and it's seconded by Stan. How do you vote? Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
No.
Ron, how do you vote? I vote yes, so we'll do it July the 4th unless somehow we can work it out sooner or something. But shoot, it's that date right now. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is...
So let's back up a minute. So if we work it out sooner, how does that facilitate itself?
Ashley, don't pin me on it right now. I can't think. We just made it July the 4th. What the heck difference does it make 5 days? Okay?
We'd have to have another phone meeting if that's the only way we could do it.
Yeah. The next thing we have on the agenda here is attorney. What is next here?
Appropriation, treasurer, attorney fees.
Attorney fees. Anybody got any comments on this?
When I saw that, I'm hoping we can wait for Carla to make any big decisions, and wondering if we could have an executive session to discuss it, since it's having to do with litigation against the town.
Yes, you can do an executive session to discuss strategy.
That would probably be good to have an executive session to talk this over, and maybe we could get together and come to a compromise and a conclusion for this that would make Michelle happy and all of us happy. That would be my thought, and do it basically within the next week to 2 weeks before the end of the month and get it done with. And hopefully hammer out something, like I say, makes everybody happy.
All right, but do you want to do an appropriation before then?
In the meantime, I would make a motion to appropriate an additional $600 for the clerk treasurer's attorney fee.
Just to hold them over till we have this meeting and to try to work out the basics of a bigger compromise. So
yeah,
I second the motion. Any discussion on it, or do we want to go with this to try to solve it?
These similar words were said, 3 or 4 months ago when she originally made her request. You know, we were going to get together and talk about it more, and I hope this time this board actually does that. You know, that's why we find ourselves in this position to start with, is due to inaction. I think $600 is a ridiculous amount. I think it needs to be more than that.
This is for this month, Ashley, till we have our meeting and try to come up with something that's agreeable to everybody. Okay. Anybody else thoughts? We have a motion and a second on the floor. How do you vote, Jen?
yes,
How do you vote, Stan?
Yes.
How do you vote, Ashley?
Abstain.
Okay, Ron, I vote yes, so 3 for it, 1 abstains, so the motion passes. And we'll do our best to really hammer something out here, and we'll be talking to Michelle on getting some thoughts too, so thank you. Okay, the next thing on the agenda is the allowance docket. We need a motion for the 5/1 to 5/31 allowance docket.
I make a motion, we approve the allowance docket.
Okay, we got a motion. We need a second. We have a second? I make a second for the last. Okay, Jen seconds. We have a motion and a second to approve the 5/1 to 5/31 allowance docket. Jen, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ann, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
I vote yes, so it passes 4-0. Okay, the next thing on here is the claims docket dated 6/15/2020 for $101,602.69. I'd like. Okay, go ahead.
Go ahead. I was just going to say thanks to Michelle for putting these all together, the packets for us. I appreciate it. One little minor thing that I was going to ask you, Michelle, is the mileage form from Tammy was kind of hard to read. I don't know if it was done in like a different color pen maybe or something. But could you use like, I don't know if it's a scanner or the pen or what, it was just kind of hard to read. So I don't know if there's anything.
Yeah, I'll tell her to use blue or black ink.
Okay, thank you.
I'll rescan them and send them to you.
Well, I could read them. It was just really, it was like very tricky. But okay. I wonder what the update on Colonial Life was because I didn't see it on there.
So I've talked to numerous people. I've talked to State Board of Accounts and my attorney. It just wasn't on there. It will be on there next month because I was waiting to get an official answer. So I will send you all an email and tag both Reed and my attorney in on it to give you an update on what we found and where that stands.
Okay. And WEC wasn't on last month, and I didn't see it on this month either. And I just wanted to make sure we weren't paying things and forgetting them on the claim.
Well, so yeah, they're just the auto withdrawal. They were just aren't the claims, but they will be on there next month. They just aren't in the system. I've had a lot going on this past month.
Yeah.
Thanks, Sal.
You're welcome.
I got a question. U.S. Engineering for $164. What was that for? VS Engineering, not U.S. VS.
I can pull the invoice, but you have the copy of the actual invoice.
Well, it said something for, I think, the community crossroads. I guess my question is what is...
Oh, because I'm looking at the claim stock. It's the paperwork I'm thinking. If you look at the invoice, it will say, I'm pretty sure it's the documents that they created or did something on. If you want me to, if you want to wait a second, I'll go pull it.
I have it. It says bidding phase activities.
It says what?
Bidding phase activities. So maybe that means paperwork.
If Mark's still on the line, he might be able to answer that.
Yeah, he's here.
Yeah. So what was it again?
Is the VS Engineering for $164?
Yes. What that is, that's to conclude their contract for the community crossings. That last $164 was for the pre-construction meeting with them, myself, and a representative from Reith Riley. So that finalizes their contract for the 2019 community crossing program, so that we can close that out also.
And that's part of that $28,000, right?
Correct. That fulfills that obligation that we had for $28,000 and some odd dollars to them.
Yeah, that's a ridiculous amount that came in way high, but I thought that we were all done with that. But it keeps adding on.
It was, and this is the last of it. I agree. That's the last of it. The $164.
Yeah. And Michelle, I got a question. The workman's comp, it shouldn't be paid all from utilities, right? Why is it being paid off from utilities?
Hold on, let me find it.
I think I saw that.
Well, hold on. Let me pull, because I know that on the actual voucher, or like what you guys are looking at, it doesn't actually mark on there every single thing that it's coming out of. I don't know why it only lists one, but you guys should have the APVs for each one of those. So you guys should have them right in front of you. Jen, do you have your packet in front of you?
Yeah.
How many APVs are there in front of that?
2.
And what are they coming out of?
There's water and wastewater.
Okay, yeah, so
why
I
not
think that's how,
why not any out of the other town? I mean, why just out of utilities?
that's how I was told to pay it last year, so I went back and looked at it and did the same for this year. I mean, I can always, if we find out that it needs to be separate, I can change the appropriations. That's not hard.
Yeah, okay. I think it should be a third, but just questioning. I just want to know. Stan, you have anything? Anybody else on these claims?
No, nothing on the claims.
Okay. The only question, I still misunderstanding that the money that you're taking out and paying for that insurance separately, is that still coming out? That you just didn't have it on the list this month?
It just got paid because I was conversing with State Board of Accounts and other financial institutions and my attorney to figure out what is right or wrong and what is allowed. So we had to change some wording just to make sure Scott's taken off of it. So it's not listed to the town of Dayton anymore. It's listed to the Dayton Clerk Treasurer's office, and it only has Tammy and I on it. I confirmed with State Board of Accounts. They said that I'm good as long as I have the documentation to show. I confirmed with Colonial Life that it's not a contract with the town. It's just a pass-through. And I have also talked to other legal avenues that have said it's actually saving the town money because the money that is being pulled pre-tax is actually saving the town money by not having to pay for that portion against FICA and Medicare. So they said that any employee can choose to have money taken out of their account and distributed as they choose. There's nothing against the town. There's nothing held on the town. If the person leaves, the thing goes with them. It has nothing to do with the town. It's just a pass-through.
Well, what concerns me, Michelle, is first of all, I disagree with about half of what you said, that my sources and stuff said it's not a good idea. But the big key is the last couple of months we've been talking about this, and we asked you not to do it. We okayed the claims to be done and to stop this practice, because where does it start and where does it stop? I mean, you know, what other bills get paid through the town and all that? It's just extra hard work. It's stuff to take care of. But we okayed the claims last month, I'm pretty sure, with and put a stop to that and said no more of that. And then you come around and we get a claims ticket with nothing on there, but yet you're having it taken out. I mean, I would think you at least say something to us that it's not on there. It's a controversial item. And because we did not okay that, and that's why Scott got off of it, because it was our board's wishes, the council's wishes, not to let this happen. And I think it still is those wishes. So
well,
you
can't use the excuse of what other bills are going to come out, because anybody with common sense knows that you cannot have your mortgage or your car payment taken out of your paycheck through your payroll employee or employer. That's a ridiculous analogy to try and use.
But you can have your life insurance. Okay, it doesn't matter. It's the board's decision and what we want to do. So,
and you guys can keep denying it. State Board of Accounts said that, but you're not. You approve money that's being spent by the town but this is not town's money. This is employees' money. So, like I said, I'm not going to have this argument.
Well, you don't have to have it. You could be honest and put it on the thing. So I'll make a motion.
The only reason why it's not on the claims docket is because I respected you guys by creating the claims docket last week. This is not something that once it's created, I cannot keep adding to it. So to give you guys time to go through all of the claims and get back with me with any questions, which I still don't understand. If you had questions about the claims docket that you've had for a week, why have none of you called me or emailed me or texted me to get your questions answered instead of here and us going back and forth? So the only reason why the Colonial Life isn't on this claims docket was because when I created the claims docket last week, I did not have a full-blown answer yet about whether I could continue on. And my attorney and multiple sources have told me that I can continue on. And State Board of Accounts said, even if you guys keep approving the claims docket, but denying the Colonial Life, when they come in to audit me, as long as I show proof that I and Tammy gave permission to have this money pulled from our check and then pass through to Colonial Life, then that's all that matters, as long as I have the documentation. So, I mean, again, from what I've been told.
That was the whole point, though, that it does create, it does need documentation from you. I mean, it does require steps.
And it does. It has it all documented. It does need to be
put on the claims docket. You know, that was the whole point.
And it is.
We talked about this.
If it needs to be put on the claims docket, then it needs approval. I mean,
correct.
You guys
it
are
will
saying
be on the claims docket next month. You guys aren't understanding, apparently, how the claims docket is created and how it works. So it's on there. It's got the APVs and all of that. But it's not on that because you have to create the claims docket a week in advance to be able to print it and send you guys all of the APVs and invoices. So unless you want the APVs the Friday before the meeting and then complain to me on Monday because you only had 2 days to look over it, I mean, you've got to figure out which way you want to go. I can't please you either way.
Well, you could.
So I'm giving you guys the time.
Okay, thank you, Michelle. One thing that's not on there, my claim for Jen and I going to that listserv, being on the listserv, do we add it right here to this one, or do we do it separate?
No, that is where I'm going to ask for the additional claims as soon as you approve the claims docket.
Why isn't it on? Why? I gave it to you several months ago, and we definitely had it as an extra last month, and the extras last month were on there, but not our bill again for listserv.
The bill was on the additional claims last month, but you chose not to approve it and waited until this month because you used the excuse about the 5 days. However, Mark just gave you 2 invoices that none of you have laid your eyes on, and you've approved. So it proved my point that last month was just an excuse to delay it. You can't sit here and tell me that I have to give you 5 days, but you approve everybody else's when they just tell you that they need to approve a claim.
Okay, Michelle, even though there's 3 things that we didn't approve that were 5 days, this month you put 2 of those 3 things on, but didn't put R1 on again. What I'm saying is the 5 days doesn't matter. We're talking about it's a new month, and you put 2 of the 3 things on there. Okay.
Ron, I am not going to create a check and without you knowing whether you guys are going to approve it or not, and have the check sit in my safe for 2 months, because then if that happens, because to create a claims docket,
we're talking
my check for my attorney was already on the claims for this coming month, and I've already said this to you in an email, and this is exactly what I told you were going to do in the meeting. You were going to take your jabs at me.
Okay,
so that check was created the day before the meeting.
All right, let's get on with Ask for it for 3 months and still don't have it because you don't want to pay it, but that's okay. Who wants to make a motion on these
I
claims?
tried to get it approved last month, Ron. You're the one who hit it for 4 months. You paid it
No,
in
you-
February, but you waited until April to give it to me. So
Well,
don't
it
try and
wasn't
take jabs at me.
Well, if you had it for 4 months, it wasn't on the claims docket last month, Michelle. So let's go on. Who
Yes,
wants to make a
it
motion?
was in the packet to be approved, and you chose not to approve it. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to give you what you want. So approve it or
Yeah.
don't. That's your choice.
Okay, who wants to
This
make a
is Jen.
motion?
I make a motion, we approve the claims docket June 15th.
Got a motion, need a second? Is my phone working or is it just silence here?
I can hear you.
Okay, does anybody want to second it? Or, okay, it dies for lack of a second. We need another motion, anybody? Okay, there's no motion on the floor, so I guess we move on. Okay, clerk treasurer report, Michelle.
Well, no, we still have
Wait,
the
what are
additional
you doing,
claims
Ron?
to approve.
Do I?
We have like
He's
3
not wanting
separate
to
claims.
approve the claims.
Asking for a motion.
Everyone not wanting to approve the claims? Like,
I made a motion to approve them. Did everyone hear that?
Jan or Ashley, you got any thoughts on this?
I'll second the motion.
Okay.
If it
You got a
died,
motion? Do I?
well, you already said the motion died. I just didn't know if I needed to make the motion again.
Yeah, go ahead and make it again.
I make a motion to approve the claims docket from June 15th.
For the $101,602. And Ashley seconds that motion.
I'll make the second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Have a vote here. Jen, how do you vote?
Yes?
Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
And how do you vote? I'll abstain. So it's 3 and 1 abstaining. So the motion passes. Okay, clerk treasurer report, Michelle.
Well, hold on. There's
we
the
have
additional
more claims.
Follow the agenda. So I sent you guys the 2 invoices for Reed. One was invoice number 671. That had his monthly fee of $3,030 along with, I believe it was, the
No,
additional
they're
11.
both hourly.
Correct. Can I
It's for-
finish speaking?
it's for one, yeah, it's just not the
Can I-
monthly fee.
I know, I'm trying to explain that. So the invoice 671 had 2 additional invoices that were attached to it, but the 1160 and the 432.50 has already been paid. But if you look at, so really I don't need that invoice approved. If you look at invoice 676, it has both the April and the May usage. So it's the total of 5,000 that has the 3,030 and then the additional. So just to save numerous motions, I think it would just be simpler to approve invoice 676.
No,
Since
that's
it
not
has,
right. The total's 8,000.
well, I know, I'm saying it has the 5,000
Okay.
for the May, and then the April is
Yeah.
the 3,030. So the total
Yeah.
for that invoice is $8,030.
Correct.
So if you guys just want to approve that motion, then that is Reed's hourly for April and May usage. And then we don't have to worry about approving invoice 671 because the 2 amounts are in the 676.
Okay. This is Jen. I make a motion, we pay invoice 676 for Reed's April and May usage in the amount of $8,030.
I second it.
Okay, we have a motion by Jen to pay Reed's bill and Stan second. How do we vote? Jen,
Yes.
Stan,
Yes.
Ashley,
Yes.
and Ron, I vote yes, so the motion passes to pay that bill. Okay, next, Michelle.
So the last one is the Indiana League of Municipal Clerks and Treasurers invoice for Ron and Jen for their yearly membership for a total of $164. So I just ask for a motion to reimburse Ron that $164 for those membership fees.
Okay, we need a motion for that, please.
I make a motion, we pay that fees.
They have a motion. We need a second.
I second.
Okay, motion by Stan to pay the $164 or whatever the fees, and a second by Jen. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
No.
Ron, how do you vote? Yes, so the motion passes. And I would suggest that every one of us council members get on that site. You learn I was on it for all my years as town clerk. It's for council, past clerks, whatever. You learn how this town is run, how towns are run, how money, where things go and what groups and all the new ideas coming up. And Michelle learns a lot. I learn a lot. Jen learns a lot. So Ashley, you probably ought to get on there along with Stan and Carla when she comes on there. Just a thought. Okay, next, Michelle.
So next, moving on to the clerk treasurer report. The only thing I have, going through bank recs and having some questions. Obviously, Ashley and Ron were on the board last year when I was appointed, and I had my hands full. So when I took over, we learned that the bank recs had not been completed since May of 2018 when I took office in January of 19. So Retha Hicks and I, we did complete them, but they were off balance. We could not figure out where it was coming from because receipts and the bank statements were matching up. So again, I know I explained it to you guys. I had talked to State Board of Accounts. We thought that they would give us an idea to just zero it out, but this off balance has rolled over all of 2018 and into 2020. Retha Hicks was not able to find it when the board had approved for her to look into it. She had found some stuff, but it wasn't able to get balanced. So I had actually ran across Susie Bass from HR Unlimited Resources on the listserv, and I had started to talk to her, and she had offered free of charge to have me send 2 of the bank recs from 2018 and the bank statements to her and look over them to see if she could figure them out. And she did. She was able to get them balanced. So she has worked with the town when Ron was clerk. So since there is animosity between the board and I, Susie offered to contact Ron herself and talk to him. I know we've had the discussion about me renewing my contract with Financial Solutions, and the council has not been on board with me doing that. Susie and her associate do help with budget, clerk treasurer duties, and all of that, and she is a lot cheaper than Financial Solutions. And then she would be able to help me finally get the bank recs zeroed out and balanced because I'm not comfortable with them continuing to roll over and us not finding them because my bank statements and my APVs and receipts and all of that match up. So this is the rolling over. It continues to roll over from 2019. So I have sent you guys the proposal of Susie's services so that she would be able to help me with bank rec and any of my clerk treasurer duties and questions that I would have. She is willing to do a lot of it remotely, so we shouldn't have that much travel. But since I am also able to work remotely from my laptop, I have absolutely no problem driving to her to help limit the cost on things. So I'm just asking the board to consider, especially with budget coming up, and this is a tough year because of the COVID and our funding, or the money that we're going to be getting is going to be cut. So I really am going to need somebody that knows what they're doing to help, and I think every clerk treasurer, when it comes to budget, does, because it's not something that's simple. So I know Ron has talked to Susie, so Ron, if you want to give your opinion.
Susie Bass called me the other night about 9 o'clock and explained all this, and a couple of weeks ago. I don't know why it went a whole year under Alex and it was never balanced, and I don't know why nothing was ever said. And then and I thought we were just trying to do the last couple months or something this spring. I mean, I think it's phenomenal that we've gone for 2 years. I'm not blaming you, Michelle, particularly. I'm just saying how it's gone for 2 years and not, doing your bank recs and stuff, and then, didn't anybody even know about this before? It's the first time I had heard about it a couple of weeks ago. So but anyway,
No, I've brought it up at numerous council meetings.
Sometime we do need to, we got to get this thing solved and everything, but anybody else got any comments?
I can't remember which meeting it was, but I do vaguely remember something about numbers not matching up, and it was having to do with Rita. And I thought, Michelle, that you had said somebody questioned why they weren't matching up or something, and you said, "Oh, I don't remember the exact reason, but in a couple months it'll catch up with itself or something." Does that ring a bell? Are we talking about the same thing? And it just never actually catch up?
When I took over office, and we had to, because it was right at annual time, the end of the year stuff. So that's when Retha Hicks came in, and we sat in my office for 3 days straight doing all of the bank recs that were not completed from May of 18 to December of 18. And then that's when we found out that they were all unbalanced. And we couldn't do anything about it because we were on a timeline. So we had to let them be unbalanced. And so then it rolled over into 2019, and we knew that we were going to be audited. So they said that typically the State Board of Accounts will find what it is and give you a solution, because ultimately the board can sit here and make a motion if there is so many months in a row that it's the same exact unbalanced number. The board can make a motion to balance it out and flip it back into the fund, because I think it's not the bank account it's not what the bank balance is showing that it's low, it's what's in the fund. So from what I'm understanding is that the board can vote just to move that money back in, and it evens everything out, and then it levels the thing to continue on. But State Board of Accounts never gave us that. That's when I then brought it up to the council, and last year, and the council approved that Retha Hicks could look through them with a $600 cap. And I sent everything to her, and she kind of gave an Excel thing, but it really wasn't balancing it. So I don't know. I can talk to State Board of Accounts. I don't know if we would necessarily have to go back to 2018 because we've already been audited all through 2018. So it might be something just talking to them to see if what their suggestion would be. So we might not have to go all the way back there since we've already been audited through December 31st of 2018. But this is where,
Well, you want to check that? You want to check that first, because it'd be nice if we didn't have to. But I don't know how much.
Yeah, we can.
How much was?
I would need some clear assurance before I would want a board vote to do that.
Okay. Yeah, okay.
Well, the contract for Susie is not just about bank reconciliation. It's regarding software training, duties of the clerk treasurer, budgets, internal controls, and other things. So this isn't just for her to help with the bank reconciliation.
I think the bank rec she said was an hour to an hour and a half a month. that's around $1,800, $2,000 to bring that up. And then, the other stuff would be additional money for the other stuff. But let me ask you something: what did we pay Retha to come up here and try to find all this stuff out? Was it several hundred, several thousand?
She was $50 an hour. I know when she came up here, when I first took over, it was a good chunk of money because we had to find the missing checks, the stuff that wasn't in fund, the bank recs. I mean, just for 2 days, we sat in here for 16 hours a day for 2 days straight, plus travel, plus her hotel. But Retha initially came in to help me get everything up to date to be able to do end of year report, because I was doing like 2 months when I took over, and there was so much. I mean, everybody knew how much I had to do. I reported everything to you guys of what I had found. So the board was well aware of everything throughout the year.
Yeah, you had a huge list. And then did Financial Solutions, that costs around $11,000. Did that help? Did they do any of that stuff, or was that?
No, Financial Solutions doesn't do bank recs. They helped with budget and the financial 5-year plan. And Susie said that she can use that and update that. So she can update as that goes, knowing what our funding is going to be, because obviously when they did it last year, the COVID wasn't the issue. So obviously our outlook looked better before the COVID happened, but Susie said that she can take that and update that.
Yeah.
But I mean, budget is the main concern.
Hey, Jen?
For Susie, so it lists on here, like travel and hotel fees not to exceed $125 a night. But if she's in Westfield, would the hotel fees apply? Like,
no, I mean, that's only if she were to travel and stay, but I have no problem traveling to her. And she said that she would be able to do most of it remotely. Susie has access to Keystone. So, like, say I get locked out of my system, or something happens when I'm trying to do billing or fund or payroll, and Keystone closes at 4:30, I can call Susie at 9 o'clock at night, and she can remote in because she has access with them. So, like, I was able to give her access to be able to help do that. So it's not like Retha didn't have that kind of access, and neither does Financial Solutions. Susie does.
Michelle?
She will, or she does?
She does.
But
she can help me with anything with Keystone as well.
Michelle, Susie is from down in Kentucky, right? 2.5 hours away. It's not just a half hour. I mean, undoubtedly she would need to come up and stay overnight, stuff like that.
Her address is listed as Westfield.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I understood she used to come up from down there. Maybe it is.
On the front of her thing, it says Westfield.
Is she already helping?
She has offered free of charge to look at 2 months worth of bank recs to see if she could help. So she did, and she was able to. But she did that out of her own good free will to see if she would be able to figure it out.
I got you.
And she did both of them within like an hour and a half, I think she said.
Hey, Ron, we've used Susie in the past, previous boards have, and I think we've always been pleased with her work.
Yeah, I don't think it seemed to me like we had her do that HR stuff and everything and the manuals, but I didn't think she was real good on the budget, or thought before she said she wasn't a budget person. I know she had said that, but what I'm concerned about
Janet's the budget person, not Susie.
Okay. What I'm concerned about is invariably when you have these people, they need to come up, they need to stay at hotels, and these people out of town the bill, it seems like half the time, 30%, 40% is just travel and everything and hotel. And even if you go down there, Michelle, it's still 58 cents a mile and all that stuff. I mean, and then You might have to
I've
stay
not
put.
turned in one travel thing this year. Maybe the only travel time I've even turned in this year, Ron, is going back and forth to Indy for training. I've not turned in any other travel.
It seems like I've seen quite
There
a
was
few.
a bunch of turned in travel
But
for the bank, Staples, I think, or Walgreens.
Tammy turns in her bank travel. I've only turned in my training travel.
There was
and that was
one
in
month,
January.
it was 2 months ago. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
No, Stan, it's not lies. I can pull it up.
Okay, anybody else got any thoughts on this?
I think it's important that we have somebody to, help with our budgeting and such. I think Susie Bass and her HR Resources is a reputable company. We've used them in the past, and I don't have any complaints. And I think it's important, especially with, the state possibly doing the cutbacks and, COVID-19. And, I think this will be a difficult budgeting year that we have coming up. I'd make a motion, if there's, I don't know if you want more discussion, but I'd make a motion that we hire HR Resources to help us out.
Oh, we have a motion to hire HR Resources to help us out. Do we have a second? Or any more
Is there
discussion?
a cap on this, like a maximum we're going to end up paying?
I'm assuming it's month by month, and I mean,
No,
Susie has Ron's number.
there's no cap. The only other thing I'd like to point out in the language is says the agreement is entered into by and between the town of Dayton, Indiana, and HR Unlimited Resource. HR Unlimited Resources agrees to provide financial consulting and training for the clerk treasurer and staff of the town of Dayton. And then, so I believe that the scope is limited to the clerk treasurer and clerk treasurer staff. Just so you know.
Susie made it clear to me that she works with the council and the clerk, and Ron and I have talked numerous times on the phone, and Ron said he was completely on board with it, but of course now the story changes now that we're in the public eye.
Well, Michelle,
I'm not saying anything.
And
I'm just reading the agreement.
It's funny, you guys don't look into that big of agreements when you guys vote to let Jen hire a financial advisor. You give her no cap or anything, but every time it comes to me and something where this is going to affect the town, the budget, you've already denied me one of the most reputable people in the state, Financial Solutions. Now I get somebody that worked with Ron that Ron trusts, and yet you guys still want to argue about it.
Michelle, we're just discussing it, and that the other place cost us $11,000 last year and couldn't answer the questions about Yoast Drive and the funding up there that we ask at meetings, and we're still supposed to get those answers. So they didn't do all the stuff, and they want another.
Actually, they did answer the question, and they were working on getting us money, Ron. So that's a lie.
Yeah, the answer to the question was, we don't have the money to do it, is what it was. But anyway, does anybody else on this have any more thoughts on Susie Bass? Yes or no?
Is this something that it would be wise to look into other people?
Well, Jen, I would feel like since they're working with me directly, it would feel like I would want somebody that I can trust, and budget is already getting started. This isn't something that we can take 30, 60, 90 days that you guys want to do. I've been asking you guys about Financial Solutions since the beginning of the year. So, I mean, I have met somebody that has history with the town, so it's not a question about whether or not you guys aren't comfortable. I thought that I would finally get the board's approval on something because I found somebody that the town is familiar with, especially Ron being the boss, and she talked to him personally numerous times. So, I mean, if you guys want to sit here and not say that I can hire Susie then I don't know what you guys are expecting from budget. So, you know, you guys are putting me as the clerk in a very serious position. Every clerk needs help on budget.
Can I ask one more
Budget.
question?
Go ahead, Jen.
What if we agree to this? Who, like, let's say Susie Bass, the first month is like, you know, $4,000. I don't think that's going to happen, but like if it's not, I hate that there's not a cap on it, I guess. And so are we at any time supposed to say like no more?
Why don't you, I mean.
Then it is a two-step process. You know, I mean, she's going to have to invoice for work, and you guys are going to approve the invoices. And if you don't think that it's, you know, reasonable, you can address it. But also, you know, she might agree to provide a cap. But I do think with, you know, it's $125 an hour. It's not like, you know, $400 to $500 an hour, where you would see more of a cap. So I'm okay with the fact that it doesn't have a cap.
Okay.
Okay.
And I'm pretty sure when Susie and I had talked, I was pretty sure that her and I had talked about her being okay with like a monthly cap. And I can, you know, converse with her and have her email the board and me and read. I have no problem with her communicating with any of you. That's why I had her personally call Ron.
Yeah, Michelle, I worked with her before and I like her, and we'll just ask some questions. First of all, you got to bring the reconcilement up, and that's about an hour to an hour and a half a month. So that's say 1,800 or so. And then it's a straight hourly wage for doing the budget and everything, right?
Yes, and I can talk to State Board of Accounts before we even start on bank rec and ask them exactly if we need to do all of that or if we can address how we can do that without going back to 2018 because we've already been audited for 2018.
Yeah.
So there might be a simpler solution. I have no problem doing that.
Susie had told me that it needed to be done, but you can check. I mean, check with them and see that.
It's not us deleting the bank recs because we cannot go back and edit anything from 2019. However, it would be a thing where we figure out what happened and then create a sheet and staple it to it so that when State Board of Accounts comes in and audits, they would be able to see it. But then again, I think almost all of my bank recs this year have had the same exact off-balance amount. So it might be as simple as contacting State Board of Accounts and saying, hey, here's what's going on. Is it okay to do this? And then just bring it to the board. And we might just be able to do where the board votes to clear it out and do whatever we have to do internally rather than going back and doing every single bank rec over again.
Can I ask one more question? You might have already said this, Michelle. I'm sorry, but you said that like sometimes State Board of Accounts, when they come in and audit, they're like, hey, this is your mistake and this is how you fix it or whatever. What did they say about the difference? Did they say anything?
I had showed them and I had told them that I needed to know like what to do, and they just never gave it to us in our audit report. So I never got an answer from them.
Yeah. Okay.
Anybody else got any comments?
I've got a motion on the.
Okay. Say your motion again, Ashley, please.
I'd make a motion that we are into agreement with HR Unlimited Resources as presented.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor. We need a second.
I second the motion.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes. So the motion Carries 4-0, but just have to keep an eye on the bill.
And I will make sure that Susie and I keep the board updated on any issues or any problems before we continue.
Thanks, Michelle.
You're welcome. Thank you for approving it. I appreciate it.
Okay, comments from the council? Anybody got any comments?
I do not.
No.
Andy? Okay, Ashley?
No.
Okay, I have one comment. It's about this, on Wednesday night, I just want to say this so everybody knows that area plan meeting downtown, Teeter and Carr rezone is still on the docket, and they're going to try to shove through their rezone, which is going to take the entire area up there, the rest of the field all up to Haggerty, and put it into, they've already told Ashley, I, and Mark, and they're going to put huge warehousing up there, huge warehousing. We've asked them as a town to let us annex first and then do the rezone that way we could control it and do something nice in that area. And as far as I'm concerned, if you're going to have Yost Drive up there, you don't want it to be an eyesore and at the entrance of town, just nothing but warehouses and gas stations and stuff like that. But so I'd recommend anybody that can, write a letter to area plan or go out and fight this. The town has already written a letter from the council asking them not to rezone until we annex. But you guys it's going to come down to, my feeling is that they're probably going to push this over on us, and then this board is going to be stuck with a decision whether to keep going with the annexation. And that area up there, we control the whole area because we have the water and sewage, whether they're inside our town or outside. So it's probably going to be, everybody in this town can be deciding what they want to see up there. And you can either let them roll over us, or you can, we want to delay it so we can have area plan do another land use map up there with green spaces, residential, commercial, smaller warehousing, business shops, everything. So everybody just be deciding and let your council members know, but I think we're going to get this shoved to us by the developers again, and the entire area up there will be ruined. So that's just my comments. Oh, one last thing, Michelle, do you happen to, on Greg Malacca sometime, if you could get us a list of the bills he's paid for, itemized. I think he's paid us quite a bit, but then we can check them to match up the claims to be sure if there's any unpaid ones that he owes the town for. So,
I think I sent you guys all of them in the email with the letter. I thought the only thing that has not been paid for yet is that thing. Oh, what was it? I think you guys had approved a couple months ago for, I believe it was BFNS to be the Mark, can you help me out here? The plan or
to be the inspector?
Inspector, thank you. That was the word I was looking for. So those are the only ones that have not been sent to Greg yet. I'll double check the email, but I thought I had sent them to you guys.
Okay, I think on this month's claim there was something I saw that maybe should be Malacca's. But anyway, I'll look it up, or if you can get us a new list. We just want to double check it, so, because I know we all...
Yes, that is one of them.
Yeah.
That inspection that is on the claim, that will be one that will be billed to Malacca's, but I think we've only got like 2 or 3 bills, and I've been kind of lumping them up every couple months and sending him an invoice. But everything else, the easements have been repaid, the legal fees, the Yasmin fees, and all BFNS work for the right-of-ways, I believe it was, or anything that was in the agreement, it has been paid back except for the inspection fees, which we've just started receiving.
Okay, good. My last thing on my list is I noticed where they did all the put in the sewer along the east side of all the way down along Dayton Road. They backfilled, and on top is nothing but pit run gravel. So we need to be sure and have them put topsoil on top of it before they seed and straw this fall or summer or whatever, because you just don't want a whole yard of gravel down there. So that's all I got.
Yeah, and Ron, I checked into that, and yes, part of the contract is top dressing all that area with topsoil. So they're aware of that, and we're aware of it. So they just graded it off, but they do know that we're expecting topsoil on that before it's finished out.
Okay, and that second entrance, did they dig down and put all gravel around those pipes like they said they were going to do, or?
Not yet.
Yeah,
it's still open.
Okay, but it looks like they put more on top, but they need to do that. Yeah, okay. Anybody else got any comments to add, council? Or? Okay, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Ron, are there any public comments?
Oh, I'm sorry. Jen, you got any public comments? You were holding all that. Sorry about that.
Nope, there were no more public comments, just the one I read.
Well, what about is anyone on the phone that wants to make a comment?
Well, the way we set it up is they were supposed to email me to let me know so I could make sure to unmute the correct person. I could unmute everyone right now. I don't actually, there might just be one person on. That would probably be me. Okay. Oh, Carla, yeah. I unmuted everyone.
And Rita, I think she's trying to do this so they could make comments on each thing we talked about too in the future. So
yeah.
Right. Okay, but there's no one out there that's trying to make a public comment. Just want to check. Like, Michelle, you don't see anything on Facebook or anything?
People are making their comments on Facebook, but nobody has made a comment to speak.
Okay.
Okay, we need a motion to adjourn the meeting.
Making a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn, need a second?
I second.
Okay, Jen second, so we got a meeting or a motion and a second. How do you vote, Jen?
Yes.
Stan, how do you vote?
Yes.
Ashley, how do you vote?
Yes.
And Ron, I vote yes. Meeting is adjourned. Thanks, everybody, and thanks, Jen, for the phone deal.